What if the world we inhabit had always been at war, with no respite, no cessation? What would be the implications? Imagine a world where the drumbeats of conflict never fell silent, where the echoes of war were the only constant. Does it remind you of any historical periods of conflict? Yes, those were dreadful times, but they were mere episodes and not the entirety of our existence. This question might seem overwhelming, but let's delve deeper and explore the potential consequences. And imagine a society that has known nothing but war. What would that look like? In a world perpetually engulfed in conflict, the social and cultural fabric would be dramatically altered. The very essence of culture, the shared customs, arts, and social institutions would likely erode over time. In the relentless pursuit of victory, aspects of cultural identity, such as language, art, and traditions, could be forgotten, replaced by a singular focus on survival and conquest. A society embroiled in ceaseless war would, out of necessity, become a survivalist society. The constant threat of danger would force the populace to adapt, learning new skills centered around survival and self-preservation. The value of human life could diminish, with individuals seen more as resources or potential threats rather than unique beings, with their own stories and experiences. In such a society, human relationships would be strained to their breaking point. Trust could become a luxury, as everyone could potentially be an enemy. The simple joys of companionship, of friendship, of love could be overshadowed by the looming specter of betrayal. The mental health repercussions of such a reality are staggering to consider. Prolonged exposure to war and conflict can lead to a myriad of psychological issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. Furthermore, the constant stress and fear could lead to a society plagued by paranoia and mistrust. The mental health of the population could rapidly deteriorate, leading to increased rates of suicide and violence. The concept of peace could become a distant memory, a myth passed down from generation to generation. In such a world, the very concept of humanity could be called into question. What does it mean to be human if our lives are dominated by fear and violence? Are we still capable of empathy, of kindness, of love in a world where war is the norm? War, as we can see, can have a profound impact on our society and our culture. The potential consequences of a world always at war are sobering to consider and serve as a stark reminder of the value of peace. The economy and the environment, two pillars of our existence, would not be spared in a world constantly at war. The economy in a world where war is a constant would be a war economy. This means that a significant portion of the nation's resources, manpower, and industrial capacity would be dedicated to the war effort. It's a system that prioritizes military needs over civilian needs, often leading to economic imbalance. In such a scenario, the economy might thrive in the short term due to increased production and employment, but in the long run, the constant strain of war would likely lead to economic stagnation or even collapse. Technological stagnation is another potential consequence in a perpetually warring world. While war can spur certain types of technological innovation like weaponry and surveillance, it might also hinder advancements in other areas. Resources that could have been invested in scientific research and development for the betterment of society are instead funneled into the war machine. The result? A society stuck in a technological rut, unable to progress. Resource scarcity could also become a pressing issue. Wars consume vast amounts of resources, from fuel to food to raw materials. If wars were ongoing and widespread, these resources could quickly become depleted, leading to severe shortages that would affect every facet of life. Now let's turn our attention to the environment. The environmental consequences of constant warfare are chilling. Habitats would be destroyed, not just from the direct impact of battles, but also from the displacement of people and animals. Pollution from war machinery, weapons, and the burning of fossil fuels could lead to widespread environmental contamination and climate change. Ultimately, a world always at war could become an uninhabitable planet. The combined effects of habitat destruction, pollution, and resource depletion could tip the environmental balance, transforming our blue planet into a barren, lifeless sphere. The economic and environmental toll of perpetual war could be catastrophic. So we must strive for peace, not just for the sake of humanity, but for the survival of our planet as well. In a world at war, politics and international relations would undoubtedly be shaped by conflict. If such a reality were to unfold, we could expect to see a considerable shift in the global political arena. In the face of constant warfare, we might witness the rise of authoritarian regimes. Democracy, with its inherent need for debate and consensus, could be deemed too slow to react to the perpetual state of emergency. As a result, governments might centralize power, arguing that swift and decisive action is necessary to ensure survival. Geopolitical tension could become the norm rather than the exception. With every nation in a constant state of war, alliances would be fragile and short-lived, formed out of necessity and broken when convenient. The concept of permanent enemies, temporary friends, might become the rule of international politics. We could also foresee a significant impact on international cooperation. As trust breaks down between nations, cooperative efforts, such as those aimed at combating global issues like climate change or pandemics, might take a back seat. The world community, once united in its fight against common threats, could become fragmented. In the end, the political landscape in a world always at war would be fraught with tension and instability. The vision of a peaceful global community would be replaced by a world where power and survival are the only currencies that matter. So, we've explored the potential consequences of a world always at war. We've seen how it could fracture society, create cultural divides, and leave scars that might never fully heal. We've also delved into the economic impacts where resources are continually diverted away from growth and prosperity, and instead funneled into the machinery of conflict. We've seen how a war-torn environment suffers, with the natural world bearing the brunt of our squabbles. We've also examined the political implications, how continuous war could reshape international relations, turning allies into adversaries and creating a global landscape marked by mistrust and fear. This journey into a world perpetually at war has been a glimpse into a stark and unsettling reality, a reality we must strive to avoid. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? But it underscores the importance of peace and cooperation in our world. War may be a part of human history, but it doesn't have to define our future.